Hey everyone, it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So today I am here to tell you why you should read The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. The Realm of the Elderlings is a 16-book series that is broken down into 4 trilogies and a quartet. So we have the Farseer trilogy, the Live Ship Traders trilogy, the Tawny Man trilogy, the Rainwild Chronicles, and the Fits in the Fool trilogy. Plus, there is a novella that I highly recommend you read because it does provide some good background for the Tawny Man trilogy. So at the beginning of the Realm of the Elderlings, we have 2 major storylines that we go back and forth between, and then eventually they merge into one complete story. And first we start with the Farseer trilogy, and that is Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, and Assassin's Quest. And the Farseer trilogy starts off where we meet a boy named Fitz. He's about 6 years old, and he is just dropped off at Buckkeep Castle, and they are told that he is the bastard son of the king-in-waiting, Chivalry Farseer. And because of this, Chivalry has abdicated the throne and moved away to a woodland keep and leaves Fitz in the care of the stable master, Burek, and the king's assassin, Chade. So as he's growing up, he is educated and also trained to be an assassin, perform duties for the king. Throughout the whole Farseer trilogy, there is a overarching plot of a quest that happens, and we just follow Fitz and plenty of other characters through that journey. The second story we're following is part of the Live Ship Traders trilogy, and that is Ship of Magic, The Mad Ship, and Ship of Destiny. The Live Ship Traders trilogy takes place in Bingtown in the same world, and Bingtown is a merchant or trader's town, and the wealthiest families in this town have ships called live ships. And live ships are made out of something called wizardwood, and basically after 3 generations, they absorb the blood and memories of the owners or the family, and they become quickened or sentient. And they are special because they can withstand the acidic Rainwild's water, and some of them can navigate themselves, and it's just super interesting. We open following the Vestrit family, specifically Althea, who's the eldest daughter of the trader who is passing away on a live ship, and the live ship is going to be quickened. And Althea fully expects to be given this ship upon his death, but instead it goes to someone else, and we start their story from there. Why should you read this gigantic series? First of all, the plot and the pacing. So the plot and the pacing, they are slow build through most of the series. I will say the Live Ship Traders trilogy is probably the fastest paced, and I think it's got the most balance of character versus plot driven. And the Rainwilds does have a pretty good balance too, but I think Live Ships does it a little bit better. All of the Fitz books are very slow paced. They're extremely character driven, so if you don't like Fitz, you're not going to like most of the series because we do follow him and we are in his head. So like I said, she's very character driven. We really get to know these characters, and we just follow them as they interact with this world and learn more about the magic. There's the skill and the wit, also the quickened live ships. And as the characters are learning about this magic, so are we, the reader. So it's just a really interesting journey learning with the characters and growing with the characters. We see their thoughts, their motivations. We get to see their emotional growth, which is great. And the thing I do appreciate with the plot is each trilogy does have its own plot, but then there's also an overarching plot that encompasses all 16 books that ties together at the end really well. So I think you could very easily read Farseer and be happy, or read Live Ship and be happy. I think you'll be missing out on a lot. I will say, if you are an extremely plot-driven reader, this may not be the series for you, or you may, but I will say the plot that she does have is very strong. It's very rooted in the lore of the world and the culture of the world. And as you read more, you peel back more layers of this world and the people that inhabit it. And it just makes for a really rich reading experience. So the magic system, we have two basic types of magic. Like I said, the skill and the wit. So the skill is the magic system that's socially acceptable, and it's basically like a mind-to-mind communication, and it's believed that the Farseers are the ones that have this skill. We also have the wit, which is considered a dirty magic in this world, and it's basically where you can deeply bond with animals and you're able to mentally connect and converse and just really develop a very, very deep, intimate bond. We also have the Elderlings, hence the realm of the Elderlings, and they are a very ancient race, and when you first start out, you really don't know that much about them, and neither do the characters. So as you get further into the series, you learn more about them and more about their lore and history. So I think where she really, really shines is her character work. So the Fitz series is first person. Fitz is telling you his life story. So you are very in his head. You are seeing everything through his eyes and how he sees things. And then we have the Life Ship Traders and the Rain Wilds, where we follow multi points of view and it's third person. And I feel like she flips through these very seamlessly and effortlessly. And I think she does a great job at both. Her character work is, oh my gosh, it's just masterful. When I first read the Farseer trilogy, I was not the biggest fan of Fitz. We follow him from when he's 6-ish years old. He doesn't know exactly how old he is. And he is into adulthood by the end of the Farseer trilogy. And so we're watching him grow up, and he's been through hell, basically. And he's a very flawed character, and he can be a very frustrating character. I ended the Farseer trilogy like, that was so good. But my favorite character in the Farseer trilogy is not Fitz. And I really didn't come around to Fitz until Tawny Man, and that's where I really began to fall in love with him. Live Ship Traders has some of my absolute favorite characters, and despite this being a multi-POV story, I still really feel like we get to know these characters very well, even though we're not seeing things through their first-person perspective. I feel like she definitely gives us enough knowledge and enough of their motivations that we do really get to know them. I love the character of Althea, and yes, she is also very flawed as well, but despite all of that, I still love her just like Fitz, and I think that's just so magical. All of these characters are multifaceted, and even some of the villains, they do have some good sides, but not always, or maybe you can understand why they are the way that they are. And then some of them, if you know, you know, they're just despicable from the start and they deserve everything that's coming to them. So she really has a good spectrum of characters. I think she intertwines all these stories and all these characters so well. And another thing I appreciate about her character writing is we get different perspectives of the same event. So something might happen in Live Ship and you'll see it from Althea's perspective, and then you'll see it from a Live Ship perspective, and then you'll see it from somebody else's. And so it really gives you like a good, solid knowledge about what actually happened. And it just really enriches the story and just elevates her character work so much. As you read this story, you just really grow to love these characters, and they just take a place in your heart and stay there. I know not everyone gets as attached, and I totally get it. It's not for everyone. But for me, it's one I really, really fell in love with the series during Live Ship, and then it just kept escalating from there. And the last trilogy, I was just so in love with these characters. And then the very last book, because it was the end, I was ugly sobbing, and I was so sad that it was over. And ever since I finished it, I've immediately wanted to start it over because I miss these characters in this world so much. And I really feel like I know them, and you just love them and want to spend time with them. And I think that just really speaks to her strength as a writer. I also really adore Robin Hobb's prose. Even though the plot is very slow burn, I feel like her prose just keeps you moving forward. It's very, it can be very lyrical and moving without being purple prose or overly flowery. And she has such a talent for crafting such impactful lines in such a small amount of space, or creating these little character moments that just hit you so hard. And I feel like everything is so purposeful. She does have books that really not a lot happens. We're just doing life with these characters, but her prose is just so beautiful, and she just gets you to love these characters that you just want to keep reading. I've highlighted and saved so many impactful lines from this series, and I know every reread I'm gonna find more. And sometimes there's just a way that you happen to read the right book at the right time, and all of the lines just hit you so hard. And there are still some quotes that when I think about them, they make me emotional because they were so poignant and relevant to not only the story, but to my life. And I just, again, a sign of such a talented writer. And I think I don't want you to hear lyrical and think dense, because I feel like her prose is very digestible. It's very easy to read, and it's very compelling. And again, like, there's some books here that just nothing really happens for the majority of the book, but you just keep reading because you want to keep devouring these beautiful lines. And everything is so purposeful. And I know that is a criticism of people that people have for the series, is some of the books they feel could be shorter. And I don't disagree, but I just have such a good time even with just her prose that I'm okay with it. I think another thing that I do love about the series is, without getting spoilery, there are so many impactful character moments that are just still so vivid in my brain. And I read this book, or this series, probably over about 3 years, the majority in the last year and a half, but 3-year period. And I still remember so many moments. There are moments that just make me see red with certain characters in Live Ship, and then there's so many just heart-wrenching, sad moments. Like Robin Hobb is the queen of stomping on your heart and breaking it into a million pieces and then putting it back together again and making you feel a little bit better. And then you're like, more, I need more, like kill me emotionally. And the payoff is so good. There's just so much. Like, I really appreciate Rain Wilds for the amount of lore, like deep lore that we get, and it really just enhanced my love of the series. And then Live Ship has such excellent character interactions, and I love so many of the relationships in that series. I loved getting to know the Live Ships and falling in love with them. And honestly, the one that like hit me the hardest was the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. So I won't be spoilery, but if you know Robin Hobb, like something heart-wrenching happens in every single one of her books. So that is not a spoiler, that is a fact. Every single one of her books is going to emotionally kill you in some way or form. I lost my cat Oliver in September of 2023. She was old and she had chronic illnesses. And so after she passed away, I was really grieving because I've had her for 16 years. And even though I knew it was coming, I didn't know it would happen that soon. And so I was buddy reading this with Angela, Grace, Ben, and Ben. And we started reading the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. And Fool's Assassin deals very heavily with grief, like very heavily with grief. And this book came at the absolute perfect time for me. And I highlighted so many things, but one thing that really like hit me, wow, it's still like making me emotional. I read this and it just really touched me. But it says, only that there was mercy in making pain bearable, but not in forcing someone to remain in this life when their body's work was done. And that is exactly what I needed to hear. Grieving, losing my cat that I'd had for 16 years, that was my baby. And there were so many moments in here that I just really needed, and it just really helped me with the healing process. So I know that I view this one with rose-tinted glasses, but it's just one of those books that came to me at exactly the right time, exactly when I needed it, and told me what I needed to hear. And I was dealing with grief as these characters were dealing with grief, and she wrote it so incredibly well. And like, you can tell I'm still like choking up about it because it just really stuck with me. And there are so many moments like that, and I think because I've fallen in love with these characters throughout all these books in this last trilogy, when things happen, whether it be happy or sad, it just provokes such an emotional response. And I cried so much, like happy tears, sad tears, frustrated tears, tears of joy because something good finally happened that we were waiting for. Just so much happened. And Fool's Quest, this one did get a bit meandery, but we got so much, just so much time with some of the characters we love that I really didn't mind it. And then the one that just emotionally destroyed me was Assassin's Fate. This is the last one. And I made myself wait to finish the last like 200 pages until I was at home because I knew it was the end and I knew it was going to make me cry. And honestly, what Robin Hobb book doesn't make you cry? But the way that this wrapped up, I thought was so incredibly beautiful. And I was like ugly sobbing the last portion of this book. Like, had the Kleenex, like had the like tears just running down my face and like almost like hyperventilating, sobbing. And I'm just like, this is so beautiful. This is so sad. I'm so happy they're here. I'm so sad again. And it was a lot, but I really loved the way she tied everything together. Did we get all the answers we wanted? No. But I'm okay with that because I was so happy with the way she wrapped up all of the stories with the characters and how she handled some of the things that happened at the end of the book, the big life moments for these characters. I like how she ended it. And she ended it on a note of hope, which I thought was really beautiful. And as soon as I finished this, I immediately just had to sit there and hug it because I was just so enamored and so in awe of what she created in 16 books. She just is a master writer. I can't sing her praises enough. So I actually just finished recently a reread of Assassin's Apprentice. And when I first read it, I gave it 4 stars. And for most of the series, I was like, it's my least favorite. I think it's the weakest one. But now that I've reread it, I have such a deep appreciation for it because rereading it really gave me an opportunity to change my perspective on Fitz. I definitely empathized with him a lot more. I feel like when I first read it, I was newer to fantasy. I was still learning what I like and dislike, but also I think I was just so frustrated with him because he is a frustrating character. Reading it again, I really took in what he was going through and developed such an empathetic perspective. And I also could see so many of the plot threads that she started to weave in book 1 that continue to book 16. And it is just impeccable. It really is. So is this series for everyone? No. But I think if you give it a chance, read Farseer, read Live Ship, see what you think. I do recommend reading in publication order. People do say you can start with Live Ship. You know, you technically can, but I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice. And I do think it spoils a little bit of stuff in Farseer. So I recommend publication order. That's the way I did it. And it was absolutely the right decision for me. Again, if you read Farseer and you absolutely hate Fitz, you're probably not going to like this series because it is very Fitz heavy. There are so many other characters to grow and love with, but he is the protagonist of this story. Again, if you are a plot-driven reader, this may be a little bit of a challenge because she's very character-driven, but I think it is definitely worth your time because the payoff and the reward that you get is so great and so valuable. I just think it's just such a testament to her. And there is one thing that happened in this book, which I think if you've read the series, you know, but there's one thing that happens that it happened when I read it, oh my gosh, maybe 2 years ago, and I still get emotional when people mention it. and I think a lot of us do who have read it. So you just really, really develop such a deep bond with these characters, and they just become a part of you and live with you and grow with you. I'm so very much looking forward to continuing on with my reread. And I think that is just a sign of exemplary writing and skill. And that just really pushed her to the very top of my favorite fantasy authors and my favorite authors of all time. I highly recommend these. There are definitely some content warnings. So if you have any, triggers, I would definitely look into that. Not everything is incredibly graphic, but there are some things that are hard to read, especially when you're a super empathetic person like I am and a very visual reader like I am. So definitely check out trigger warnings. But I do think this series is well worth your time, and it's also worth taking your time with it. It's okay if you don't read one book a month or blow through the series in a couple weeks. I read it over the course of, 2 or 3 years, and it was the perfect pace for me. So again, it's very adaptable to you. So I'm going to quit gushing. I've just been rambling for I don't even know how long, but just top 5 favorite series of all time. So have you read this series? If so, please let me know. What is your favorite character? Let me know down below. If you'd like to leave an emoji, let's leave a wolf emoji for our beloved Night Eyes. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you want to. And I will see you guys next time.